call the meeting to order. This is the Thursday, March 26, 2026, 9 a.m. Town of Indian River Shores regular town council meeting. We will start with the invocation from Councilman Carroll.
We're thankful for this town and its residents. We're grateful for all who work for the betterment of our community and all who serve on its behalf. That those who work here and those who serve here be ever mindful of the town's vision and mission statement. Grant this council the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interest and issues of our times, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, personal peace in our lives, and joy in our task. Amen.
Amen. Amen. As we pledge allegiance to the flag, let us all remember our troops that are in harm's way, and freedom is never free. We are the land of the free because of the brave. It is being proven right now. So let's all keep our troops in our thoughts and prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. If you have not silenced or turned your cell phones off, we'd ask that you do that now. We usually don't have a problem with that here, though, but it's part of my routine, so I'll keep it in the package. Item C, roll call, if you could call the roll.
Mayor Foley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Councilmember Altieri?
Here.
Councilmember Tedesco?
Here.
Let the record show all members are present.
Thank you very much. Are there any requests to reorder, delete items, or add items to the agenda? There being none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, the motion from Councilman Carroll, the second from Councilman Altieri. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item 3, we have some presentations and proclamations today. We start with the September 30, 2025 financial statements. Christine Knoll Ron of Carr Riggs and Ingram. Is it that time of the year already?
It is. We're actually a little earlier than we typically are.
That's being early around these parts is a good thing, so excellent. All right, take it away. We look forward to your presentation.
Okay. So you did again receive a clean audit opinion, as you typically do. Your general fund, the fund balance increased by $165,000. Your revenues overall were up almost $800,000 from property taxes due to increased values. Your expenditures were up for capital outlay, so the renovations on the public safety building and buying a new ambulance increased your capital outlay expenditures. So you still, even with those increased expenditures, again, you had a positive increase in your fund balance of your general fund. All of your other funds are now non-major funds now, so your general fund is your only significant fund at the moment. In your planning and zoning fund, your revenues decreased about $81,000. You had less permits this year. Your ARPA fund, you spent the rest of that grant funding. You were required to spend it by the end of 26 anyway, so now it's done. You don't have to worry about getting it done on time. And then your road and bridge fund had a small increase of $19,000 in its fund balance. Overall, you're very consistent, spent the rest of your grant funds. You did have a new government accounting standard you had to implement because there's almost one every year. This year related to compensated absences. So now you have to estimate the amount of sick time people will use before they leave instead of just what they will get paid out. So for-profit companies will never estimate it this way. But yes, we thought it was important to add. So that increased your liability by about $234,000 by just changing the method. So you're not providing any more leave, it's just estimating how much of it will actually be used. Again, we had no findings, no areas for improvement. We went through with the Finance Committee the financial condition assessment that the state provides, and you were inconclusive overall, which is normal. That means everything's steady as it should be. There was only one indicator that showed up as unfavorable, but really it's due to the trend timing of when you had to start counting leases as debt, because at the beginning of the time period you didn't, and at the end you did, so you have an increase in debt, but next year that'll probably flip in reverse. So does anyone have any questions or anything I can answer?
All right, terrific. So on a lie detector, inconclusive is not necessarily good, but it's okay for us, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions from council on the financial statements? We'll start with Councilman Carroll and then work our way down the dais.
No questions.
Vice Mayor?
Really just more an observation for those in the audience and who might be watching on YouTube. Thanks as council and the town manager and administration, this town is in great shape financially. Our pension funds, both our one for our non-police employees and the public safety fund is more than fully funded. That is very rare in this country. Our revenue fund levels are in good shape. And for this coming fiscal year, which is not covered by this annual report, we voted a 3% decrease in the property tax millage rate. So I think that's just important to note as we're at this time of year.
Thank you very much. Those were observations I was going to make as well, but we thank you for, the hard work, and, it's a pleasure to see an auditor and our chief financial officer basically working so well year after year. So thank you for your attentiveness to the town. Anything from Mr. Altieri?
Yeah.
All right, terrific. See you next year.
Thank you.
Okay, well, actually, I won't see you next year. Well, somebody will see you next year. Item 3B, proclamation declaring the town of Indian River Shores a moonshot community. It's that time of year again, too? For the moonshot program. So we have a proclamation, the moonshot community. Well, rather than me try to summarize it, if you want to come up and give a brief summary of what it is, I attended. I don't know how many people here attended the movie at the Riverside Theater that gave an exposition of the program and what it does, and capturing the minds at a point in time where they learn an incredible percentage of what they're going to learn for life, and if you don't get it at that time, it's lost. And go ahead, take it away, please. Just give a little overview of what Moonshot does.
Thank you, Mayor Foley. Thank you, council members. I'm Maria O'Brien. I work for the Learning Alliance. I have the privilege of also being the coordinator of our Moonshot Community Action Network. We call it MCAN, M-C-A-N. The Moonshot goal is that 90% of our children will be ready for kindergarten and reading on grade level by the end of third grade. As you saw in that film too, and the reason that third grade's been the milestone is from birth to third grade you're learning to read, because after third grade you have to be able to read to continue to learn. Literacy is really an economic issue. It's a health, physical and mental health issue. It's a national security issue, which you heard at the screening of the Moonshot film. As a Moonshot community, we have been doing this work for about 15 years. We are now tied for second in the state for third grade reading. So our partnership with the school district and the community is really paying off. Our community has received more Pacesetter and Bright Sprite awards than any of the other 350 coalitions doing this work from the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. And last month we had a summit here where people came from 31 states, 4 countries, 350 people came together to learn about the work. We've also since then had the Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia has declared themselves a Moonshot community. Memphis, Tennessee is doing this. Martin County has done it. Minnesota's Moonshot, Minnesota. So it's really spreading around the nation. And it's thanks to the very generous support of, Indian River Shores has been amazing partners to this. So we appreciate the continued support of it. The Learning Alliance, it's such a complex issue that you need a backbone organization. So that's the Learning Alliance. But I also have a couple of our MCAN members here. Vicki DeMuth is on the Learning Alliance board. Vicki Soule is with Oceanside Rotary. Stephanie is with me at the Learning Alliance. So it takes the entire community involved. I think what our proclamations, the key point of that is literacy is everybody's business. So we thank you for, again, being a Moonshot community. It is that time of year I was looking for the Power Squadron folks. We usually share this, but I didn't see them. So really, we're very grateful, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you usually do have the Power Squadron on the same meeting. Is the film available on the website for people to see, or is it too large a file?
I'm so glad you asked. Because of this work, there were the national filmmakers who made something called the film Sentenced, which was a very powerful documentary. They came here, they saw the work that was being done, and they said, this is so moving, we want to make a story, your story, because it's so uplifting. The director's cut that you saw on February 16th at Riverside Theater will be available on YouTube after April 10th, because on April 10, everyone's invited. The Vero Beach Film Festival is going to show it for free at the Vero Beach Theater Guild at 1 p.m. And we'll have a panel discussion as well with Dr. Moore, our superintendent, David Dyer on the school board, Barbara Hammond, our CEO. So they'll show the film in a panel discussion, and then we're going to, after that, we'll put it up open source on YouTube for people to watch.
Terrific, thank you. I encourage everyone to find a way to access it either in person or when it's when it's posted, not on Netflix but YouTube, right? So excellent. All right, well, we'll go right to the proclamation, which is a proclamation of the Town Council designating Indian River Shores, Florida as a moonshot community where we support our youngest learners and their families to make Indian River County a leading literacy capital of the nation. We'll skip all the whereases if you don't mind and get right to the guts of it, which is now therefore the town of Indian River Shores does hereby proclaim our continued commitment to the moonshot goal and to advancing policies, partnerships, and community efforts that promote early language development, strengthen families, and improve literacy outcomes for all children. In witness thereof, the hand and seal is set. On behalf of the Town Council of Indian River Shores, congratulations and thank you once again for doing this very important work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you'd like to stand up. Sure. Let's get council, scrunched together.
All right, everybody say moonshot. Thank you.
Okay, item 3C, proclamation designating April 2025 Florida Water Conservation Month. Is anybody here on behalf of this proclamation? All right. A proclamation of the Town of Indian River Shores designating April 2026 Florida Water Conservation Month. I know a number of members of council here have worked in various capacities on issues regarding the environment, water, and the importance of our lagoon. And so it's a vital issue to anyone in a beachside community such as us. So the proclamation, now therefore the Town Council of Indian River Shores does hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month in Indian River Shores, Florida, calls upon all residents and businesses to help protect our precious water resources by practicing water-saving measures and increasing awareness of the importance of conservation. In recognition of the 27th year of Water Conservation Month, this year's focus will be on ensuring that outdoor irrigation systems operate efficiently by using properly functioning rain shutoff devices. By making sure these devices are installed, connected, and working as intended, our community can prevent unnecessary watering, reduce waste, and make better use of the rainfall we receive. In witness whereof, the seal Town Council is approved to this. And I'm going to make a further comment. You save money too. I put in a smart meter. I, kind of passed around the information on it. Since putting on a smart meter in my house, my water bill has been cut anywhere from 1/3 to 1/4 a month. So not only are you saving water, you're also saving it. And these devices are not your grandfather's devices that just kind of, if the cork got wet on the sprinkler, then it would shut off. It actually is a computer program that monitors the precipitation, rainfall, and humidity, and then adjusts your watering schedule accordingly. Again, saves money, saves time. Costs about $300 for a residential house to put in, so it'll pay for itself in a month or two. Anyway, that's it for the proclamation. From the Water Conservation Month, I'll leave it here for the clerk to direct to the appropriate person. Item 3D, utility legislation, House Bill 1451. Mr. Sweeney is going to give a presentation. This is a bill that was passed literally, I think, in the last 40 minutes of the last day of the session. It's on the governor's desk. It has many of the items that, as a council, we've been looking for in order to protect our citizens from circuitous routes to increase, surcharges and fees on our water bills to fund not the water utility, but aspects of the local government providing the water services to us. So, did we get everything we wanted in this bill? If it's signed, no. Is it a really good long step there? I think it is, but we'll find out if Mr. Sweeney agrees with me now. So, Pete, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So again, this is HB 1451. As the mayor said, on Friday the 13th, which was the last day of session, it was passed and then sent on for final approval, ultimately to the governor. It has not been signed by the governor. In fact, it actually hasn't been presented to him formally, which then would trigger either a signature, a veto, or by the expiration of time would automatically become law. So, but we're in anticipation of this, talking about it. So what it does is a new regulatory scheme for municipal utilities. Very important. We're not talking about privately owned, investor-owned utilities. But this certainly would apply to the utility provider for the town of Indian River Shores. So as you can see, that covers it. If you'll take me to the next slide. It requires several things. One of the first things is more transparency. It will require for any new service agreement or an extension, renewal, anything we would be doing with our utility provider in a new contractual basis to meet these things. Must be in writing. We will have to have public input, public meetings. There will have to be annual meetings with us as the customer. They will have to have representatives, and all of this will be done quite frankly, in the open and transparently. This is a new requirement. If we could go on to the next. This is probably where the biggest change is from what the current law is. Currently, municipal utilities are allowed to, if they're providing service outside of their municipal boundaries, such as our situation. We receive utilities from the city of Vero Beach. We are outside of their actual city limits. We receive it. Currently, they are allowed to provide a surcharge. The surcharge now has been as a per se 25% eliminated. That is no longer, they used to be able to just simply say, if you're outside, you receive our utilities, we can tack on a 25% surcharge. That is prohibited going forward, assuming this, again, is all signed into law. The difference will be there can be a 25% differential, but that would be based on a rate study that goes through this public process we just talked about, and it has to be based on not just that, but the key term is based on just and equitable factors. Now again, what does that mean? All of that would have to be portrayed, proven, and ultimately approved in public hearings. I am not, and have not in my experience as a town attorney or government attorney, seen that taken a lot, because again, it's technical requirements. You'd have to show why is it more expensive, what are the bases for charging somebody outside on more of a technical basis. Instead, most places, as I've seen, have said, if the rate for customers in the city is this, we simply add on 25%. That goes away. So it could still be a 25% surcharge, but again, it would have to be based on all of these things. If we could go to the next slide. Two last very important parts are, number one, that they have to report all of this to the Public Service Commission going forward. Again, this is more transparency. It's going to be annually. They also will be reporting most of this information to, I believe, the governor's office, the CFO, the House Speaker, and the Senate President. One last part, and this is not really relevant to our area, but there is a state preemption now on regional utilities authorities. This is quite frankly directed to the Gainesville Regional Utilities Authority and some action that has happened there over the last 2 or 3 years. One last thing I do want to mention is that there is language in here that says this would be phased out if there was a surcharge for outside extraterritorial individuals. It would have to be phased out by July 1, 2029, or the earlier if it was being used, and it can only be used for bond covenants. So as we know, our utility provider is expanding. but the bond would have had to have been issued by March 1st. So that time period has passed. I'm not aware of any bonds. I'm also not aware that any bonds that may be in existence are indentured for us. So as it's postured.
Excuse me, Pete,
Yes, sir.
it's also the surcharge had to be in place, you know,
Yes.
as of March 1st as well, and since we didn't.
Correct.
In its
We
current
are not currently
iteration,
getting it. Yes, sir.
we're outside the scope of that exception.
We should be, and again, it comes back to, in the future at a renegotiation, arguably they could create this just and equitable factor that would be the difference, but that would be it. So in total, again, has not even been presented to the governor, is not law yet, but assuming it is law, it would all be effective July 1st. So it's coming up very quickly. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Just one observation, I guess. Pete, 180.192, which is the statute.
Yes, sir.
If you look at page 7 of 8 of the document that we've been given, one of the issues that the commission is going to be looking at is in subparagraph D, the percentage of the percentage of revenues generated from the provision of utility services that were used to fund or finance non-utility government functions or services of the municipality and the percentage of the municipality's non-utility budget. What's the purpose? Does that mean that the commission is now going to sort of monitor that issue in the future, and for what purpose? I know it's an
Yes,
issue.
the answer
I know
is
it's an
yes.
issue that's important to us.
The answer is yes, and I certainly would defer to our vice mayor. He has spent more time than I have on, but the fundamental principle is a lot of utilities, municipal utilities, transfer a lot of this surcharge to their general fund. The plain premise here is that if they're doing that, and now it's going to be transparent. And I would defer again to our vice mayor. If there's any information they've ever been able to show on what the transfers are, perfectly.
But there's no statutory prohibition from them transferring to general
There is not a
fund.
statutory prohibition other than now it will have to all be.
Now there's a watchdog.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to that point, for example, the city of Vero Beach takes 6% of your bill and transfers it to their general fund to reduce property taxes for citizens of Vero Beach inside their incorporated boundaries. There's one other item which usually flies under the radar screen, and that is, for example, they'll take the amount of money that is spent on salaries for city council and the staff to support them and turn around and say, well, since they may talk about the utility once a year, they allocate a portion of those expenses to the utility and then recover that through a higher rate. They do that across every single department. And I've gone through the financial statements. There's a line in there. It's called General Fund Administrative Chargeback. And it's a substantial amount of money above that 6%. And these other utilities do it as well. Orlando's notorious for taking big profits out and supplementing. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars now. They have a huge authority. So, yeah, to the town attorney's point, there's finally, the anthill is getting kicked over, and now we're seeing what is going on. So I got a couple questions, but I'll wait till everybody else gets a chance to speak.
No, thank you, for the clarification. Hence, did we get everything we want? No. But the transparency and then, in the overall context of the legislation, if it's enacted and signed into law, makes it very clear that the framework is that your fair, just, and equitable surcharges, although not explicitly stated, really have to relate to the utility function and not to general fund transfers. So it's not clear. I think they'll be taking positions in municipalities. They're still allowed to do it, but your taxpayers are going to say, wait a minute, what am I paying taxes for if my water bills are paying for it? In our context, the Vice Mayor is right. So that 6%, you're paying for 6% of the employees of the city of Vero Beach that are allocated to that function, whether that's definable or not, who knows? But you don't pay, you don't vote in that district, so it's really taxation without representation. So anyway, Councilman Carroll has some comments. So
Please define surcharge.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Thank you. we would have to go back into some of the prior versions of it, and I can pull it up, but the idea being whatever, let me start for a minute. Every single utility provider has to go through a rate study in order to be able to justify the rates that the ratepayers are paying. Once they get to that, and typically it's based on thousands of gallons per day or of those caliber, once they create that, the surcharge is quite simply whatever that number is, 25% greater. And that's historically how it has been, as just a simple math calculation. Again, going back, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. So follow-on question. It's a 25% surcharge on top of what the base rate would be for a citizen in the city of Vero Beach.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does the city of Vero Beach take 6% of the surcharge and apply it to its general fund, or do they take the base rate plus 25% and apply 6% of that number to their general fund?
I believe that's accurate. I would again defer to Vice Mayor. It's my understanding it's a global.
Yeah, first of all, there is no surcharge currently.
Correct.
Yeah, so the rate that is paid by whether you're in the city, in the town of Indian River Shores, or in the unincorporated areas of Indian River County, primarily South Beach, which is served by their water utility, that those revenues, regardless where they come from, they take 6%, quote, as a profit, and then that cost allocation that I talked about. Okay, Mr. Carroll, you done, or can I ask a couple questions now?
I'm finished.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure you're. The first thing is, in terms of the bill, once it's presented to the governor, am I correct that if it sits on his desk for 10 days and there's no action, it becomes law?
I believe it's 14 days.
14 days.
I believe
okay.
it's, but I'll confirm that.
Oh, okay, it's 10 days in the U.S. Constitution.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. And my second question is, I think I know the answer to this, but if any utility is required to provide some justification on it as part of this process to bring things more into the sunshine, currently under this bill, am I correct that there is no appeal process? So they could do things that are manifestly wrong in terms of justifying it, but we have no place to go. Am I correct?
Right now, there's very little teeth in here other than that last new section we talked about and a failure to follow the reports with the governor.
Yeah,
There
okay.
is that. But otherwise, I do not
Okay.
see any teeth.
Yeah. For example, in a for-profit private utility, they go through the Public Service Commission, Florida Power and Light will come in with rates, and then there is an appeal process where you go through. So that is missing. I still think this is a good step. We're not there, but to the mayor's comment, that's a good leap. But what I think people will be around the state will be shocked how much of these, for lack of a better term, predatory tactics are being done by municipalities. I was up at the Florida League of Cities arguing the unfairness of this, and the case I've made, and I've said it before in council, was, say for example, if you were Florida Power and Light customer and your neighbor was, and just arbitrarily a municipal boundary went right down the property line of your two houses, and your neighbor was paying X and you were paying X times 25%, how would you feel? It's just manifestly unfair. And in the lack of justification for their surcharges, it just doesn't make any sense. And it really burns me. The Florida League of Cities makes choices between different municipalities protecting some and not protecting the other. And I know the mayor has been vehement at different meetings about that. So with that.
Yeah, that's why nobody sits next to us at these meetings, Bob. But anyway, to Councilman Carroll's point, just to simplify it, the 25% surcharge, the way it works, it's merely for the asking. You don't have to justify anything. You just say, we're imposing a 25% surcharge because we can. And there's no vehicle, no methodology, no way to challenge it. Now, at least the fair, just, and equitable factors, there's some case law definition in that could be that. The second point, there is no administrative process, but our our utility provider, the city of Vero Beach, is not regulated. So, you know, there would theoretically be a private cause of action, a suit by either a class action suit or, you know, by a franchise holder like us that could say you're violating the statute by imposing a surcharge or not imposing fair, just, and equitable standards. So we'll see it. My point in this is that we previously had consensus among council and delegated to the town manager on behalf of council to write in support of legislation that was pretty similar to this. If you recall, council, when we were dealing with Florida Tax Watch, you know, we had encouraged them to, in the context of real property tax reform, plug loopholes that would allow municipalities with the utilities to not upcharge in the utilities to cover for any conceivable real property tax loss. I'm going to ask if there's any objection to that prior delegation, the town manager to write to the governor in support of this legislation being renewed, because I don't know how many utilities are, or rather municipalities with utilities are going to write in support of the legislation. We have a good story to tell that we don't have to reinvent, because we've already sent it out and distributed that letter to the public previously. So if there's no objection at the end of this, I'm going to ask for unanimous consent to reiterate the delegation that was prior given to Mr. Harpring to present a letter in support of this legislation to be signed by the governor. All right, Mr. Altieri, do you have our Utilities Commission representative?
Just one other question, Pete, which is, I assume that the Act 180.19 does not supersede or in any way affect our individually negotiated rights under the franchise agreement. So what I'm concerned about is disclosure. So if the city makes certain disclosures as they're required to and hold certain meetings for the purpose of disclosure to the people that are receiving the rates, can they take the position that if we want to exercise our rights under the franchise agreement, they say, no, that has been superseded by our disclosure requirements under the statute?
I think I understand what you're saying. I do not believe that the statute is a retroactive application in the statute, so I do agree with the idea that whatever we have already agreed to in our franchise is what we're going to be bound by, hence the sort of phase out of some of this over the next 3 years. But I do think going forward, I think it's more likely that these would be considered additional extra contractual obligations under the statute. So they may meet our baseline with our agreement, but they still may have to do this to be in compliance with state statute, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so my point was that before the enactment of the statute, many of the rights that are encompassed in the statute, we already have pursuant to the franchise agreement.
And let me make sure, and I would defer to Mr. Harping on this, we are going to be in, or have postured to negotiate, again, with our utility provider.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Excuse me. Yes, excuse me, yes to your question, but not part and parcel. In other words, everything in the new legislation is not in the franchise agreement as it stands now. And we are in the window, as we have previously noticed, pursuant to the franchise agreement, the city of renegotiation.
Councilman Tedesco?
Nothing to add.
All right. Is there unanimous consent to continue the delegation and ask our town manager to reiterate our support for legislation of this kind, in particular House Bill 1041? If there's any objection, we can put it on the agenda next month, but I think it's going to be too late by then.
I agree.
Any objection to that? None? Okay, good. So Senator Grahl, Representative Brackett, what's the name of the governor again? No, I'm kidding. Ron DeSantis. So we'll put that in your capable hands, and you can just use the template that we did supporting the other legislation and tailor it to this.
Maybe send it to the CFO as well?
Yeah. Blaze and Grolium would be,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
great idea.
Anybody else is running for governor.
Right.
But,
Yeah, right, Byron Donalds and,
Yeah.
you know, Mark Wayne Mullen, let's send it to everybody, so. No, in all seriousness, I think it's about as close as we've come to the goal line on this, and I'm not getting my hopes up, but let's do what we can to support it. So thank you, council, and thank you to the citizens, you know, of Indian River Shores that pay these charges to keep things going outside our jurisdiction even. All right, item number 4, comments from the public regarding the agenda items. If there's a member of the public that has a comment regarding a specific agenda item, please feel free to come forward, comment on it. Please state your name and the agenda item that you wish to comment on. No takers today. Okay. With there being no comments, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't see anything that requires a roll call vote.
You're correct.
So all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Is there any negative vote? There being none, it is unanimous. The consent agenda is approved. Okay, mayor's report. Bear with me, I have a little more today than I usually do. But we'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. The first thing I want to report on is the town clerk, and I met with Tammy Bursick, the recently retired clerk of the city of Vero Beach, and Councilman Aaron Voss regarding a 4th of July celebration to commemorate the bicentennial of the area, and we've been asked to participate in the festivities. And is Ms. Bursick here today? She's not. Okay. Okay, so she's going to come on April 23rd and give a presentation of what is going to be going on the 4th of July, and you know what the town and its residents can do to support it. And we'll leave it for that. There will be a time capsule. On behalf of the council, I volunteered our town clerk to be the coordinator of this. That's a joke. But I think Janice is probably in the best position to get the input from various members of council on anything that they think may be noteworthy. If Johns Island or any of the local homeowners associations have anything of historic value that they would like to contribute as part of the recognition of the contributions of the town to the area, please feel free to, you know, give them over to our town clerk, Janice, and she can kind of coordinate all that. And then we'll be hearing from Tammy Bursick at the next meeting regarding greater details about that. There's going to be fireworks and parades. I don't think we're a candidate for a float in the parade, but you know, there will be such things. So sounds like a nice area celebration. Everybody can come together. Tax issues. This is just a very quick note. I asked to be distributed to council a look at the burden that Indian River Shores taxpayers pay on ad valorem taxes, which is a fancy name for real estate taxes, across the county. And the last council meeting, I believe it was, the vice mayor improved on or updated some statistics that relied upon the population versus the tax burden that, you know, I asked to be put together the last time a tax raise was really being considered across county that would unfairly impact, I thought, the taxpayers of Indian River Shores, and that was in the context of funding certain, you know, children's programs, really basically funding NGOs. And the council, in that context, noted that, you know, what was your phrase? We punch well above our weight.
Correct.
So just curious to have a look at this in the context of the various proposals to reduce ad valorem taxes or eliminate them in some instances, and how it plays out on a parcel basis. So council was given this, which was produced by the CFO of our tax collector's office, and you know, the long and the short of it is the percentages are even higher if you look at it on a parcel by parcel basis. So accounting for, you know, well, let's just read it. The parcels of, you know, of total ad valorem taxes assessed attributable to parcels within Indian River Shores is close to 6%. And the percentage of tax roll parcels attributed is about 4%. So on a dollar basis, the average per parcel tax rate in Indian River Shores is $18,355. Everywhere else, it's $4,091. So when we hear about other governments, municipalities going around claiming the sky is falling if we get rid of real estate taxes or we modify them or reduce them, I think it's well advised for us to really keep in mind that we have a very unique situation here in our town. And we are carrying the burden for a huge part of tax funding throughout the county. And as we hear we're not going to have we're not going to have roads, we're not going to have baseball fields, it's really Chicken Little stuff, the sky is falling. Let's take a step back and look how it impacts us and not fall into I think it's a scare tactic about, we just can't even talk about cutting off ad valorem taxes or reducing them. I will tell you this, if there's anybody here who has a different experience, when I've gone out into the community and I've asked citizens of Indian River Shores, do you think you don't pay enough in real estate taxes? I've yet to find someone who says, no, I want to pay more. So look, we have a reality. We have to fund essential services of government. And remember, the reforms that are being put forward by the state legislature keep intact funding for police and education. But it also makes I think, a very good exercise to think about how we can give some relief, particularly to older taxpayers that that have paid 20 years of taxes or over 65. I know a big talking point, and sometimes people think if they just say it, it becomes true, is that, well, this will terribly affect, people who rent. Not necessarily true. I mean, there are targeted tax cuts and different strategies that can address that. But look, I still think they're a long, long way away from having anything specific in terms of real estate tax relief. But let's keep an open mind on this and recognize the huge amount that this small municipality carries on a countywide basis. I would note that there's another bill. We're talking about a lot of bills, as we do at the end of legislative sessions. I think it was 3 meetings ago, I challenged staff and next year's council, since I won't be here, to come up with a 5% reduction in spending. I was off on the percentage, so there's a current bill which requires a budget workshop at least 14 days before final adoption to identify strategies that could reduce the next fiscal year's budget by 10% without affecting services. So we may very well see legislation that requires, as part of the budget process, public bodies to consider, what a 10% reduction would look like. And again, this goes to the, fraud, waste, and abuse scenarios that are popping up. Not here. I mean, I think we're pretty good. So anyway, let's keep an eye on that. This is legislation that is supported by the state CFO, Blazin Grolier. So we'll see where it goes with that. I'm a little behind on this. I don't know if that's been presented to the governor, but it's one to watch. Not mandatory. You don't have to cut 10%, but you've got to at least go through the exercise and say, what would it look like? Would the world come to an end in our municipality if that happened? All right. Next item I have is the legislature sent the governor a bill. We have another bill. Getting a lot of bills today. Always bills to pay. This one is a interesting approach, which requires the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to encourage nature-based solutions to improve coastlines. That's code for everything from beach erosion to plantings being eroded, natural and unnatural events involving threats to marine life and vegetation. Among other, it primarily deals with Manatee County, but, you know, like most legislation, you know, there's an old saying, it starts out as a horse and then winds up as a 3-humped back camel. So one of the humps in the camel that came out of this legislation was to look at nature-based solutions to prevent these erosions. We've talked in the past about, is there a better way to deal with this stuff rather than just dumping $8, $9, $10 million worth of sand in the ocean? St. Lucie County is working on that. I've discussed here before that, you know, perhaps our staff can coordinate with St. Lucie County because they're looking at some structures that may prevent erosion, notwithstanding the fact that we've been told that we really don't have, you know, great geology for that in the ocean. But this is something for us to follow closely because there's going to be money available, and the Department of Environmental Protection now just can't say nothing we can do. They've actually got to come up with, you know, some better solutions for this and propose it. So have at it, more work for staff. Good luck on that. It's actually pretty good news, I think. Okay, last item. Always save the fun part for the last. We've got some homework for council. There's currently in effect, and I've got a lot of notes, but I'm just going to try to simplify it as best I can. We currently have an ordinance that prohibits the parking of, quote, pickup trucks overnight in the driveway, even if it's a privately owned driveway. Now, this does not refer to homeowners associations, except as I'll outline it in a little bit. So we're really talking about a fairly small area of the town. That's the non-HOA areas that have, where people have driveways. So technically, the parking of a pickup truck overnight is an ordinance violation. It's been in effect for a long time. I forget how long, but I think since the first land development code was probably over 25 years, maybe longer. So I like the aesthetics of this community. I like the fact that we're different, that we don't have boats on trailers parked in people's front yards, that we don't have commercial vehicles that are signed parked in driveways and front yards. We're an upscale beachside community. We look different than other places. Our property values reflect that difference, and I'm always in favor of, you know, having those kinds of things that, like such as this ordinance, that make sure that, you know, people are preserving that look and feel, even if it's in their own driveway. Okay, no prohibition if you have a pickup truck against parking it in your garage, right? So the problem is if you have a pickup truck and you're parking it in your driveway, technically you're in violation of the ordinance, much the same way you would be if you were parking a trailer, much the same way if you were, you know, parking a recreational vehicle, if you were parking, you know, a boat. I think we need to get some input from the community on this. You know, pickup trucks have become, you know, not just something that farmers use or people that have, you know, businesses use. It's a primary mode of transportation for people. So the question for us is to decide whether or not, you know, we ought to workshop, get feedback from the community, and, you know, I'm going to express my opinion, develop a very narrow exception to the pickup truck prohibition of parking in a private driveway, which would be based upon, you know, the gross vehicle weight. Other communities have been working on this issue and doing it as well, limiting the number of axles, things like that. You know, again, let's have a look at it and get some feedback from the community and workshop it, see. You know, it may turn out that, you know, there are 20 pickup truck drivers that want to park in the driveway in town, and there are, you know, 5,000 residents who don't want it, and then, you know, we've got our answer. But I think we ought to at least take a look at it, particularly because the state legislature has passed legislation in 2024 that took effect 2025, I believe, actually 2025, which prohibits homeowners associations from prohibiting pickup trucks from being parked in a driveway. So we have the anomaly of homeowners association, which usually has broader rights than a municipality, cannot prohibit the parking of a pickup truck in a driveway, but we're prohibiting it in the town. So we have a conflict. There's some legal things I'll give everybody a headache about if I were to try to play lawyer on this and say we could still defend the municipal ordinance because, you know, the legislature intended only to limit HOAs in this power. But the bottom line is the anomaly still exists, you know. So I don't know that if push came to shove, the prohibition against pickup trucks would survive a court battle. I don't think it's a slam dunk either way. But I think as a policy matter, it's more incumbent upon us to determine, you know, why even fight this and risk this if we can achieve consensus on, you know, making a very narrow exception to this. Now, what am I not talking about personally? I'm only one voice up here. I am not in favor of trailers, commercial vehicles, signed vans, things like that being able to be parked, you know, in areas. I'm talking about, you know, basically the reality of what's happening is that we have some residents of our town who have very nice pickup trucks, some of which are smaller than my SUV, that are subject to being cited for an ordinance violation for that. So I'm sorry for the long-winded explanation, but I wanted to give a little bit of background on this. And I think, you know, without objection from council, we should put this as an agenda item to discuss council's input and thoughts on this at the April meeting. I'm sorry, at the April meeting, with a workshop to be determined shortly after that. So that's my story on this. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm in favor of looking at this. And one thing that I would ask us to consider as we workshop this out is what exactly is an SUV? Some people think an SUV is a truck in certain manufacturers. Others try to style it as something different. So I think as part of that look, we should attempt to figure that out so we don't have to come back and do that again. But to your point, the reality is all the manufacturers out there are going away from producing sedans. And I don't think Chevy has a sedan, GM has a sedan left. I think Ford doesn't have a sedan left. Toyota has a couple. So, I mean, you know, it's an endangered species, so we have to accept reality. So I would be in favor of your approach.
Anyone else? No objection? Okay, so if we could put that as a discussion item, possible or probable action. I suppose the action would be setting a date to workshop this and get input from the community. And in the meanwhile, council can do its homework, go out and talk to people in the public as we always do, and, you know, see what the sensibilities are of it. To your point, Vice Mayor, we don't have to reinvent the wheel on this. The town manager came up with an ordinance, you know, from another community. There's another ordinance or two I came up with. And rather than, you know, delve into the definitions, you know, it looks like most of the other jurisdictions that are grappling with this are focusing basically on two things, you know, gross vehicle weight and the number of axles. So, you know, you can't have a monster truck with, you know, the 14-inch, you know, 14-foot, you know, wheels. But anyway, we'll flesh that out. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. That's it. If there's any inquiry or question for me from council, I'm happy to answer anything. All right. Let's move on to council member items. Starting with Mr. Tedesco. Do you have anything you wish to bring up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 18th of March, Town Clerk Janice and I drove to Fellsmere and attended the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities meeting, which was very well attended. There were, we estimated, around 60 to 70 people there, and they also announced the fact that there were 4 new members that were auxiliary members who were not necessarily directly connected to a town, but were people like hospitals and other kind of commercial facilities that had an interest. Center of attraction at the meeting was Robbie Brackett, our representative, who made a presentation. And just to give the cliff notes on the presentation, he began by talking about who he was and the fact that he was very pro-business, was a member originally of the council in Vero Beach, and now lives also in Tallahassee, where he commented later that he pays 9 mills, and that was an example of the kind of unfairness that we see today in the state. Key takeaways I took were, number one, he said that the primary focus of this year's session, the past session, was tax reform. No more specificity than that, however. He said relatively few bills were passed by both chambers because of significant differences between the House and the Senate. And he briefly highlighted the divide in their priorities. He said the House was emphasizing mostly on tax cuts and limiting government regulations, and the Senate, on the other hand, had a much broader policy and spending priority agenda. He said that many of the bills that did not pass this session are expected to be refiled this coming year, and he specifically mentioned plans to refile HB 105, which is his pet bill that was introduced. HB 105 is the Local Government Enforcement Actions Bill that attempts to make sure that everything is above board, I guess. He said that he had heard the governor say, this was in response to a Q&A session he had afterwards, said that the governor said he would not sign any reduction in taxes, specifically in property taxes, if there were any exclusions or exceptions tacked onto it. He wanted it fair for everybody at this point. And it sounded very much like, if I had to read his body language, that he wasn't really expecting anything to pass on that basis. Janice, do you have anything to add?
No.
I think it was a very, I enjoyed the meeting. I got a chance to meet a lot of other town people. I was specifically impressed with Aaron Voss, who is on council at City of Vero Beach, who seems to be very interested in collaborative efforts with the shores. That's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Mr. Altieri, do you have anything other than your committee reports, which we'll do later?
No, I have nothing else to add. And when it comes to committee reports, the Utility Committee meets on a bi-monthly basis now. March was an off month. The next meeting will be early April.
Okay, thank you. Nothing? Mr. Carroll, anything? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 8. And by the way, terrific. I'm glad you, League of Cities is kind of a baptism of fire for, a newly appointed elected official. There's a lot of stuff going on, and, as the Vice Mayor alluded, everybody's got somewhat different interests. So it's a great group, and it's also terrific to network with other people that are in similar situations. And you find out, despite differences, we have a lot more in common usually than we do in difference. So.
Sorry, my report was out of.
No, it's fine. No, I think it was appropriate, appropriate in this context since, it was your first outing, so to speak. So very, very well done. All right, item 8A, selection of auditor selection committee. So I guess we're going to select the committee that's going to select the auditor. Sounds like Monty Python, but okay, take it away, Mr. Harpring.
Teed that Monty Python up pretty easy, but I'll pass. The Auditor Selection Committee were required by statute to select a committee to select the auditor. I know it sounds cyclical already, but the Finance Committee did meet and discuss this on March 3rd and recommended 2 of their members to be on that committee, Chair Michael Oxner and Finance Committee member Rob Stevenson. At this point in time, we need to select a town council member to serve on that committee as well.
When does it meet?
The actual meeting is pending because once we get the third individual, we'll go through the process of how we're putting out the RFP for the new auditor company, see who puts in, and we'll have the committee scheduled. But we don't have a definitive date yet for that meeting.
Okay, so, but we're not talking over the summer. This is, next month or two, or?
Right, it's to be determined, but yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Please.
The schedule is set up based off the members' availability. We have to meet to present our draft proposal for the committee to make any recommended changes because they are actually the selection committee. Then we will put it out, and that could take a month because you want to give time to answer questions. So we would meet at their leisure, but it will leak into the summer a little.
Okay. Any volunteers from council? I just wanted to get the timing straight on this committee.
I'm happy to do it.
Councilman Altieri's happy to do it. Is that, you okay with that, everyone? Or? Sure. Okay. All right. So you have your committee to select the selector or whatever. Okay, great. Item 8B. Oh, do we have to vote on this, or can we do it by acclamation?
Mr. Mayor, just to make it clear for the record, I think it would be appropriate to have a motion, a second, and a vote. Doesn't have to be roll call, but
Okay.
I think it would be appropriate.
Motion to approve, have Mr. Altieri be the town council representative.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Item 8B, ordinance number 587. This is a second reading of the short-term vacation rental enforcement. Mr. Sweeney has some legal niceties that have to be complied with in order to approve the second reading. So take it away, Mr. Sweeney.
Mr. Mayor, this would be, again, this would be ordinance number 587. I apologize, sorry. Got to the wrong page there for a second.
Page 166.
Yes, sir. Thank you. An ordinance, excuse me, this is ordinance number 587, an ordinance of the town of Indian River Shores related to short-term updates to the short-term vacation rentals, including and providing for severability, providing for Scribner's errors, providing for codification, providing for a effective date. This is the second reading. My apologies, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any discussion on this? Absent discussion, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, a motion from Councilman Carroll, a second from Councilman Altieri. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, item 8C, another second reading. This is ordinance number 588, the establishment of departments. We went through a description of why we're doing this. It's basically streamlining for efficiency and economics. Do you want to read the proper language?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is ordinance number 588, an ordinance relating to town administration, amending section 30.01, establishment of departments, providing for applicability and inclusion, providing for severability, providing for Scribner's errors, providing for codification, providing for a business impact statement, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, it's a second reading. Is there any discussion? Without discussion, roll call vote, please.
Yes, we would need a motion.
yes,
Motion to
motion.
approve.
Second.
All right, a motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilman Carroll. A roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Tedesco? Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
Item 8D, another second reading. Ordinance number 589, repeal of section 31.05, contracts required for services. Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 5. This is ordinance number 589, an ordinance of the town of Indian River Shores, Florida, municipal corporation repealing section 31.05 contract required for services, providing for a business impact estimate, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for Scribner's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading.
Any discussion on this item? If no discussion, a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion from Councilman Carroll, second by Vice Mayor Alwater. Roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri? Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we have item 8E, which is ordinance number 590. This is a first reading, so I will ask the town manager to give an overview for the public who are here in person and watching remotely, and for council so that we can have a description of what we're proposing with ordinance number 590.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Ordinance number 590 is an ordinance that continues the organizational clarification and cleanup relative to the structure of the administration of the town, the establishment of departments. I will note collectively, ordinance number 590, 591, and 592 are all addressed to that particular same topic. In this particular ordinance, what it does is it will, in that particular section, it will reflect some of those changes that were made in the second reading ordinances relative to the structure. And that's pretty much the overview. I'm happy to answer any detailed questions on that prior to the reading.
As this is a first reading, are there any questions from council of the town manager or the town attorney on the item? All right, there being none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilman Carroll, motion to, I'm sorry, you
No
have to
problem,
read, you have
Mr.
to read the magic language, I thought.
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and run it through. Ordinance number 590, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores repealing Article 6, Section 30.45 of the town's Code of Ordinances, which outlines the organization, powers, and duties of the Department of Treasury in its entirety, providing for applicability and inclusion, providing for severability, providing for an economic impact statement, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll?
So moved.
All right, Councilman Carroll made the motion, second by Councilman Altieri. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri? Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, item 8F, ordinance number 591. That's an amendment to Article 7, the Department of Finance, Section 30.50, Organization, Powers, and Duties. It's a first reading. As it's a first reading, Mr. Harping, do you have anything to add to this one?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarity, while the Department of Treasury is being eliminated, that's consistent with the terminology and creation of the Finance Department. So it's not as if we're eliminating any financial oversight or management. It's an organizational terminology issue.
All right, thank you. So that description probably covers for the next item as well. Are there any questions further from council or discussion on this item? If not, can you read the magic language?
Yes, sir,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor. This is ordinance number 591, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores amending Article 6, Section 30.50 of the town's Code of Ordinances, which outlines the powers and duties of the Department of Finance, providing for applicability and inclusion, providing for severability, providing for an economic impact statement estimate, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri? Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. And in this regard, just note that the town manager has prepared an updated organizational chart for anyone on council that's interested in having it. And it's on the dais, so it's pretty, that probably should go on the website as well. I think we put that on there. Okay. So give folks an idea of how the town is structured and the efficiencies that'll be accomplished by this if it survives second reading. All right, item 8G, ordinance number 592, amendment to section 32.21, town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Excuse me. On this outlines the various duties and responsibility of the town manager. It also recommends deletion of a variety of different historical terms that are no longer used or in effect. I do want to make one note on page 186, which is 186 of the packet in its entirety. It's page 2 of 3 of the ordinance. Under sub 6, chief of police and fire chief should be deleted. That will be reflected in the ordinance under second reading. Those deletions were referenced in the March 16th agenda item memo. I just missed it and didn't get them in this particular copy of the ordinance, so I note that relative to a change that you'll see in the ordinance in second reading.
All right, so we will have the proposed amendment so modified as a Scrivener's error, and it'll be deemed to include the language just described by the town manager instead of police chief, fire chief. Is there any discussion on this item?
Well, just a question of procedure. Shouldn't we amend it now in the first reading, since it's not a Scrivener's error? It's a, well, it's an error, but it's material. Shouldn't we just delete it now and have an amended first reading, or is that not appropriate?
It's different way of getting to the same destination. If you'd like to make a motion to amend it, please do.
I think that would be appropriate if you included that as part of the motion.
All right, well, I'll wait for a remaining discussion.
Any other discussion? All right, Vice Mayor, why don't you make the motion with the amended language?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the document except for section 32-21 F subsection 6 to remove the words chief of police and fire chief.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, may I do a quick reading?
Yes.
Before we get to vote? Yes, sir. This would be ordinance number 592, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores amending Article 2, Section 32.21 of the Town's Code of Ordinances, which outlines the powers and duties of the town manager, providing for applicability and inclusion, providing for severability, providing for an economic impact estimate, providing for Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you,
All
Mr. Mayor.
right, so the motion now would be the language as changed by the Vice Mayor during the discussion portion of it.
Correct.
Do you wish to make that motion, Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir.
And it's seconded
Second.
by Councilman Carroll. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for your language and amendment. Item 8H, ordinance number 593, procurement of goods and services. This is a first reading, so if you would kindly describe what the language seeks to accomplish here, Mr. Town Manager.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. We currently have an ordinance 3102, my apologies, that addresses procurement of goods and services. And in that regard, we're trying to clarify the authorized individual. At this point in time, we have a title of purchasing agent. What we're going to do is, because that limits some operation relative to what we have to do, we're going to change it to, recommending changing it to town manager or designee. That allows some flexibility in terms of those particular operations and authorizations for purchasing. Hopefully the summary of it was laid out well in the agenda item, but if not, I'm happy to answer any more detailed questions on it.
Any questions?
I have a question. It's a silly question, but we're getting rid of the purchasing agent, and I never knew we had a purchasing. We have a title, but I never saw a guy wearing a shirt that said purchasing agents.
Point well taken. We're trying to clean it up. Heather had 3 hats that say 3 different things, as we kind of all do, but...
She has a big head.
And again, it's a point well taken, Councilmember Altieri, and this is one of the things that we hope to continue to see is some of the clarification of the language and for consistency and really update.
Okay.
Anything else? You want to read the language?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Our last ordinance of the day, ordinance number 593, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores amending Article 31.02 of the Town's Code of Ordinances, which outlines the procedures for the procurement of goods and services, providing for applicability and inclusion, providing for severability, providing for an economic impact estimate, providing for Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Altieri seconds the Councilman Carroll's motion. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Councilmember Tedesco?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passed unanimously.
Terrific, thank you. That was a lot of ordinances for one day, but we got through them. Thank you, and thank you for the patience with me. It gets confusing. Read the title, motion, vote, so we got through it. Staff updates, building official reports and statistics.
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor,
Held is in the field, or?
Yeah, for building official and for code enforcement, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Building department team is finishing their final training for the transfer to our new comprehensive system. We were or are on the iWork system. We're moving to the MGO system, which is a permitting and communication system that allows, that's consistent with what the other political subdivisions are doing here. So they've been in that training, and this should hopefully be the last time before they go live. So any questions on any of those items, if I can't answer them for you, I'll get the answer for you directly.
Okay, anything for Mr. Harpring regarding building department or code enforcement report? If there is none, from time to time, we're not allowed to talk to each other under the sunshine law. I get inquiries from folks, that are in the real estate business regarding signage and, how unfair it is that they can't use the same signs that they use elsewhere. And, it's pretty clear what the requirements are. And, for what it's worth, I note that the overwhelming majority of realtors tend to comply, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll comply with it. The ones that don't are kind of the recidivists. So, we have a perfectly designed legal time, place, manner restriction on signage, and that's what's worked in this community. It again is one of those things that preserves the aesthetics. If you go south of town, you'll see 40,000 signs. There was the floppy guy arms in front of a house the other day. I trust parole and agreement. That's not Indian River Shores. So I know people are out there trying to make a living and trying to work, but there's a reason why we have these things in place, and our citizens are appreciative of it. So just my comment, and thank Mr. Mike Krantz for being really skillful in how he does this. It's the 3 E's. I always get them backwards, but it's educate, encourage, and force, right? So
correct order.
We're not out there, blow-torching signs. We tend to, give gentle reminders to people and, give them their signs back. So, all right, thank you. Public Works Department.
That's the same.
You covered that, yeah. Okay. Town Treasurer. Sorry,
Just a
go ahead.
question on the Public Works. On the BMAP plan, on the second bullet point, talked about SCA complete the first quarter street sweeping. Do we hit all public streets on street sweeping once a quarter?
We just started that as part of the BMAP. It's very, very productive. The company that we ended up getting after searching for a number of companies does this as a routine item. They provide us with all of the data and the details, the weights and the amounts of all the stuff that they picked up, so to speak, and that goes as part of our MS4 BMAP filings, and it definitely assists us. We just did. This is the first time we have done that, and we will continue to do it on a regular basis moving forward.
How expensive is that? $500. Oh, okay. $500 a quarter? Oh, I'm shocked it's that low.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Harpring wearing the town Public Works hat? No? Okay. Ms. Christmas, Town Treasurer.
You have my February report. If I don't really have anything else at this time, unless you have any questions that I can answer for you.
Vice Mayor.
Just want to say thank you for the great work that you do to get that annual report out as fast as you do with as small staff. And even though we're a small town, it has the same complexities as a larger town. You got to do the same reports, the same, covering the same departments and so forth. So I just want to thank you and your colleague on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well said, Vice Mayor. And what you do, it's akin to a lawyer will tell you like a house closing on a $100,000 house is just as complicated as a $5 million house. So it's the same thing. You get the stuff in on time. We're constantly updated, and it's greatly appreciated. You make our life easy, and it instills a great sense of confidence in the legitimacy of our financial statement. So terrific job. Thank you.
Much.
Anything else for Heather? No? Okay, thank you, Heather. Public Safety Department, Assistant Chief Ryer.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good
members
morning.
of Council. Just in addition to the submitted report and statistics, I'd just like to add our traffic enforcement focus during this in-season time continues. In particular, that's speed enforcement out on Highway A1A, as well as school bus enforcement. We've had some violations that we've cracked down on with that recently after some complaints came in. In addition to that, our second backup ambulance had been out for repairs. That'll be returning today. Therefore, all fire and ambulance apparatus will be in service as of this afternoon. And Indian River County earlier this week renewed our certificate of public convenience and necessity, which is for our ambulance. It determines the need for services to ensure adequate coverage. So, are there any questions?
Great job, as always. Any questions for the public safety? No? All right, well, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Just before I forget it, you know, there were some rumors floating around town about, and I know it's slightly off point, but about traffic lights going in down by the CVS, and, you know, I think we can dispel that notion. You're the MPO thing. There's not going to be a traffic light, even if there is a crosswalk. The work on, you know, making sure that the school children are safe, excellent work. I observed that with my own eyes. I think living in this community where, you know, I'm pretty close to school age regarding the overall community. We don't have a lot of students, but there are school buses, and it's a dangerous condition, and people have to pay attention. So great work.
It is.
Thank
you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to follow up realistically just on a little bit from the legislative session that did end, and we had a quick, I just wanted to follow up because...
Excuse me, the Vice Mayor just pointed out.
Yes, you're right.
I bypassed the town clerk.
Yes,
So,
sorry. I'm sorry, Janice.
Janice, do you have anything?
Yes, I have put together a PowerPoint presentation. We have had quite a bit of interest coming into my office for people.
In November. This year, our election for municipal offices will be November 3rd, and qualification begins the first day after our April meeting, which is April 24th, and will run through July 24th. Any person who is a registered elector within Indian River County, who is a resident of the town of Indian River Shores and who has resided here for 1 year can qualify. I recommend strongly that anyone interested in running make an appointment with the town clerk, who I serve as the qualifying officer for elections prior to, so we can be sure that all of the requirements and understanding of the finance and so forth is made. There are 3 seats. This is a very unusual election coming up this year. There are 3 seats available. One is for a 2-year term, and 2 are for the 4-year terms. Candidates can only qualify for one of those 2 seats, and our ballot will be very clear to state for the 2-year term, voters can vote for 1. For the 4-year term, voters can vote for 2. The names will be placed on the ballot by pulling straws, and all candidates are run nonpartisan, and whoever gets the most votes will win for those seats. Other than the 2-year term, all terms are for 4 years, and they will begin after the election. The terms will commence immediately following the certified results from the election.
All right, thank you. Any questions on that from?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Janice, would you please repeat your comment about the segregation between the 4-year terms and the 2-year terms?
So because we had a vacancy occur and the appointment was made to fill that seat, the appointment was only made to run through to the next general election of the town. The person then appointed would have to become elected to complete the remaining 2 years of the 4-year term. Once that becomes open, it's open for anyone to qualify for that seat.
But if a person chooses to enter the race, he or she must designate
Yes. They can only qualify.
two-year term or
Four-year
four-year term.
Yes.
If there's only one person who signs up for the two-year term, does that mean that person is automatically in and is not subject to a real election?
Yes. Yes. So if we receive only 2 qualified candidates for the 4-year term, they would win by default. If we receive only 1 candidate for the 2-year term, they would also win by default.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no formal election.
So you could have an oddball situation where 5 people want to get the 4-year term and 1 person wants to do the 2-year term. So the 2-year term gets in automatically, and then there's a free-for-all for the very, very interesting election. I remember one like that in a long time. So.
Yes, yes. So again, just in closing, each of the candidates who run or the qualified candidates do need to know that we do meet on an annual, monthly basis. And then in the month of September, in addition to our regular meeting, we have the additional financial meeting. And now, from understanding recent legislation, there'll be a budget workshop required prior to that as well. And then the council members also are expected to serve on regional committees as well that meet year-round, which are several of those. So it is a year-round.
Follow-up question. Sorry to prolong this. If a person signs up and there's only one person who signs up for a 2-year term, that person is automatically in. And if he or she has not previously served, how do you calculate that person's eligibility to serve on council going forward after the first 2-year period? In other words, if a person is in for 2 years, so in 28, that person's term expires. Okay. Is that person then eligible to run for a 4-year term?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say that person does and wins. So that person has served 6 years. Then in 32, there's another general election. That person has served 6 years. Is that person then limited to serving only 2 years?
I don't think they could qualify because the term is for a 4-year term, and then they would be in violation of our charter, which states that you cannot serve for more than 8 consecutive years.
And Mr. Mayor, Council, to make very clear, this is the exact language. No member of the town council shall be eligible for re-election to the council who will have served 8 or more consecutive years as a council member at the expiration of his then current term. So again, the math is 8 years consecutive, could even be more if it were the example we were just talking about where somebody came in midway, but once you hit that threshold, they are ineligible to even go up for re-election.
So you're saying that they would be able to run for that second 4-year term?
No, that's what I'm saying. They would not be able to. They would not be able to. They would not be able to. You're correct.
So 8 consecutive years is the limitation. So could a person serve for 7 years and they'll only serve for 7 consecutive years? If that person chooses to run in another election, how long would he or she be able to serve?
Again, the charter is silent on total number of years that you would be able to serve or how many terms. It's just very clear. You are not eligible for re-election once you've hit that 8-year mark. So if you didn't hit the 8-year consecutive mark I think a plain reading would be that you would be eligible to come up.
You'd be
For the next-
eligible to serve for 8 consecutive years after
After a break.
After a break.
Yes, sir. I think that's the plain reading of it. Yes. And we've got a council member right here who can talk, our vice mayor.
I'll end up being 11 years after 2028 because I had a gap.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
And again, just to follow this very quickly, Janice has done an excellent job. We've been talking about this regularly in anticipation. We know this will be a heavy election year. So if there are questions that come up, please let us know and we collectively will provide this information. The whole point is to get this information out.
In my report for the Resign to Run, the town attorney did some research on that, and it's very clear that you have to serve on a board for compensation, which none of our boards are, even including the town council, who serves without compensation. So we are not bound by that, but anyone wishing to run who may serve on an outside foundation, board, committee that either is quasi-judicial or is for compensation would have to consider, would need to do their research as to whether or not they would be required to resign to run, and if so, it would have to be done 10 days prior to the beginning of qualification.
All right, thank you. Excellent report. So just as an aside, for those considering to run, it's a greatly rewarding experience, and I think all should do it, but you should have your eyes wide open. You know, probably the biggest mistruth I was ever told when people were encouraging me to run was, it's only one meeting a month. That's true, except for September, and except for the various committee meetings you have to go to, and except for the constituents that want to talk to you. So be prepared for a time commitment, and if you're not prepared to do that, I would say you should rethink whether or not it's for you. So, and that's also my way of saying thank you to the 4 other people up here who have devoted countless hours to the work on behalf of the community, and you know, you could double our pay and we still get nothing. So it's truly a civic commitment and a very important one. So. Good for our community, and thank you for that presentation. Now, Mr. Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my apologies to our town clerk. I did not mean to jump the gun, so to speak. Very quickly, to follow on that, for a reminder to council, including our newest council member, Mr. Tedesco, speaking, you would be able to speak to any potential candidate. I know this comes up at times, but sunshine law would not apply as long as you're speaking with somebody who, again, is not on this board. So I know that has come up. I want to be upfront about that, and you're welcome to speak with those individuals. And just very quickly, to recap on the legislative session, there were 1,897 bills filed, 1,900 bills almost. Of those 1,900 bills, a little over 206 were actually passed by both houses. So right now we have 206 passed bills. Of those 206, 4 have been signed by the governor. 7 are at the governor's desk waiting to be signed. There are 195 remaining that have been passed, such as some of the ones we've discussed this morning, but have not been presented to the governor. And I want to qualify my earlier calculation. I was off by 1 day. It's 15 days if presented to the governor. If he takes no action, such as either signing it or vetoing it, it then becomes law by default after 15 days. And as we've seen in a couple of the past years, typically over the next several months, they are presented to the governor, and we've seen him sign them at various locales throughout the state of Florida. I'll continue to follow them, but there is no technical time limit on whether they could be presented as late as November 1st. Of course, our governor will not be governor after this election cycle. I don't know how that would play out if it wasn't presented under his governorship. But that's the sum and status of that. I'm happy to answer any questions, and that's my report.
Anything for the town attorney? No, it's been a heavily legal day. Town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. As a follow-up to a comment last week and today, just a very brief report on the inlet work going on in the Fort Pierce Inlet along the South Jetty. That particular project is primarily a federal U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project. They're funding almost 80% of it, with St. Lucie County funding another 20, roughly a little less than 20%, a little more than 20%. One of the interesting things to note about the project itself is it actually is using sand burrows offshore, and they're pumping sand, for lack of a better way to put it. The historical maintenance of that particular area because of the jetty has been federal and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That's why they are able to continue, notwithstanding turtle nesting season, roughly till the beginning of May. So they'll be working through April. And that's pretty much a sum and summation. The burrow there where they're getting the sand from was previously authorized. It wasn't a new issue or project. There were concerns, and some of the staff folks I talked to down there related to the project. I mean, they were very concerned about the sand primarily because of the rocks and the jetty and, you know, any issues associated with that, and then all the commercial and roadway areas just to the south. It only stretches about a mile south from the jetty itself, so it's not a large sector size project, say, that we've seen locally, but that's the brief update on it. I will say collectively, maybe anticipatorily responding to some of your questions, the fact that it was historically a federal U.S. Army Corps of Engineer responsibility and project in proximity to a working commercial inlet has meant essentially that it's a lot easier for them to do what they need to do there because of those factors and a few others. So that's an update on that. I'm happy to find out any additional information if that doesn't suffice, or try to answer any questions now. They're pumping it ashore. In fact, if you go to visit stlucie.com and go to the cameras, they have a number of cameras in the area. One of the cameras actually focuses directly on the South Jetty. You can see an extremely large barge. I don't know if it's there as we speak today, but they've had an extremely large barge with pumping equipment, things like that, right in the inlet on the south side, proximate to the jetty. It's if you go down there either by boat or otherwise, it's a pretty interesting and impressive public works project to see. The only other thing I have is, as the mayor noted, and consistent with a number of the other ordinance changes that we've seen, I've provided an organizational chart for your reference. Also, that will be placed on the website and readily available to anyone that wants it. I don't have anything else, Mr. Mayor, to report. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to address them.
Anything additional for the town manager? No? Okay, thank you very much. Just let's, thank you for the update on what's happening to the south of us, but let's also kind of keep tabs on what Florida DEP is doing, with this new legislation. Hopefully it gets, implemented in regs. It's going to take a long, long time for the rulemaking to happen. But, as I think all of us know, projects of this magnitude are way beyond the ability of even the state to fund. So there would have to be, a fairly significant federal project. And, realistically, with the problems going on now, can't even fund TSA. I think large block grants to do this kind of stuff, probably not in the near future, but it's our responsibility to keep on top of it. So thank you for doing that. Council committee reports. Mr. Tedesco, you want to just incorporate your report given earlier on League of Cities? Or have anything to add?
Nothing to add to that report, except that for the lack of specificity from the representative that we had, I was curious to know some more detail and have left 4 phone messages at his 2 offices in order to speak to him, and have not heard back.
All right. Well, he's got some time between the special session and now, so he's probably in town. So hopefully he'll give you a call back. Mr. Altieri, do you have nothing because of the Utilities Commission?
Nothing more.
I had Treasure Coast Council of Local Governments, and it was the back-to-back meetings on airports. So at the February meeting, we had a presentation by St. Lucie County on their airport plans and expansion. And then at the March 4 meeting, the city of Vero Beach came in and, gave a fairly comprehensive and good analysis of what they're planning to do out there. And I would venture to guess the politically unpopular decision to now charge for parking there, which, that's up to them. I did ask, what I thought was an interesting question because, it looks like, St. Lucie County is really getting ready to have large-scale commercial airliners come in, and they've got a much bigger footprint. City of Vero Beach already has commercial air traffic there, and so I was just curious as to the breakdown between commercial flights versus non-commercial flights. And I don't know if anybody wants to guess, but I think it's less than 1% or 1% of the flights are commercial flights that go in and out. So
At St. Lucie?
no, in Vero Beach. So just something to keep in mind, for our local decision makers, and it's a lot at the federal level because the FAA has pretty expansive jurisdiction over airports concerning, investments and footprints and things like that. My question as a member of the public is how many regional airports are we really going to need, and how much of an investment do we really need and all this stuff. But in any event, I find the Vero Beach Airport very convenient. I know there are others here that do. So, it's 11 minutes from my house to the airport, 7 minutes, let's say if the lights are correctly done. So it's a good commute. Other than that, Council of Local Governments is implementing a scholarship fund to provide tuition and expense assistance for students that are kind of caught in a gap that don't qualify for loans and don't qualify for the more traditional grants and aids. So there will be a selection committee. We're going to approve it likely at the April 1 meeting, and likely. Well, I'll just give you in other contexts I've seen. A lot of these are criminal justice kids. They want to go into criminal justice, and it's not free. And you have to pay for the tuition. You have to pay for the laptop. You've got to do that, and then other trades. So it's kind of interesting to see that the scholarship is going toward not towards kids who are going to read poetry, which is important, but whether they're going to actually do something and make a living. So I'll report back on that the next meeting. Vice Mayor?
Just one question for you. How do they classify in Vero Beach the Flight Academy flights? Do they call those commercial or?
Those fall into just non-commercial.
Okay, all right, that's just, okay. You mentioned DEP. I saw something this morning on Bloomberg Television, so I took a screenshot. Actually, my wife Nancy spotted it and says, you better read this, Bob. FEMA to offer $1 billion for disaster resilience after lawsuit, and said Wednesday it will fund up to $1 billion disaster resilient infrastructure under grant program it had previously canceled and criticized as being wasteful. This move was prompted by an order from a U.S. District Court earlier this month, which mandated that the administration restore the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities BRIC program. I don't know if we have any play on that. I can give this to Lucy afterwards and whether it works for us or not. Mentioning the beach. I sit on the Beach and Shores Preservation Advisory Committee for the county. I'm the chair. Every few years, the county is required under Florida state law to update the beach preservation plan. I believe it's going to be on April 14th. They're going to present the plan for public comments in this room. So I want to note that. The second thing. There's been an ongoing discussion further south in the county along the South Beach. There's different sectors of the beach. We're Sector 4, down at the very end is Sector 7 and Sector 8. Sector 7 has a very tough beach erosion plan, and they have not been able to get enough easements to allow the construction of additional beach replenishment. We actually got some of that money to do our Sector 4. So, I just want to point out the importance of people, the oceanfront landowners stepping up to the plate and signing the easements. We were very good about that. People did step up to the plate, and town administration and other people helped doing that. But they're in a really tough situation where sand is just being completely eroded. So to your point, Mr. Mayor, you know, it's something we just got to keep watching all the time and be focused on it. So that's it for me. So.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. All right, call to the audience. This is the time for real estate agents who had signs removed and people who got cited for the pickup trucks and come up and say something. Nothing? All right. Thank you very much for your attention, and we will reconvene on April 24th, is it? Or 23rd? Thursday, April 23rd, and we will see you then. Everybody have a pleasant and safe day. We are adjourned.